Welcome to the Happiness Matters podcast with me, your coach, Julia Seal, where we explore the puzzle of whole being happiness as professional women in our midlife, how to coach ourselves and live into the best version of ourselves, resilient, creative, and thriving, no matter what. Hi there everyone, it's Julia Seal from Happiness-Matters.coach, and today I want to share something very exciting that's happening, a new adventure. I'm off on a new adventure, a 20 months journey, and I'm going to be doing my master's in happiness studies. I know, isn't that crazy? So the master's is actually the very first of its kind, a master's in happiness studies, and it is being run by my most favorite teacher, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, who you might know from Harvard fame way back when. And it's the first master's in happiness studies, a first online master's being run out of a university in America called Centenary University. So you might be asking, why am I off on this journey? I mean, what do I need more qualifications for? I'm 53. Why do I want to spend the next 2 years of my life doing a master's? And even, I have a certificate in happiness studies. I've also done the Yale course, the University of California, Berkeley course. So I have a lot of background in happiness studies already. And I read all the time. So why do I need it? Well, it's actually bigger than the qualification. It's about something post-pandemic and a liminal space that I've been in. So if you remember back at the beginning of this year, I did a really lovely podcast that I think a lot of you enjoyed called Liminal Spaces of Transition in Midlife. And this really has been kind of where I am actually in my own life this year. I would call this year has been a post-pandemic year for me, where I've been in a liminal space of where to next, where do I want to go, where do I want to take the business, where my own happiness is. And I've been really hanging out in the liminal is the best way I can call it, and waiting for something to unfold. And while I've been waiting, I knew the master's was coming, but it's like a 6-year journey that Tal took to get this up and running. So I've been kind of watching it in the sidelines, knowing it's coming. I didn't know it was going to come in 2022. So I was looking for, what next? What next in my career? What next in my happiness journey? And what next for Happiness Matters and all of you that coach with me? And then this popped up. So while I'm hanging out in the liminal space, because I don't think this period of transition is going to change anytime soon for me. I do feel at 53, I'm somewhere in between, and for something to do and a way to grow myself while the world sorts itself out. I believe that we've got about 5 years before things are going to start feeling normal, if that's what we want to call it, post-pandemic, with the changes happening in the UK, Brexit, and Europe, the changes happening in America with their elections or their midterm elections coming up, the Ukraine war, which doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon, and the huge economic impact that this is having on all of us across the world. So while we sort ourselves out, we're in a fundamental shift in the world order at the moment, and how this economically is going to play out, but it's also how it's going to play out for each of us as individuals. So I've really been looking, what can I do with myself and with my business while times are difficult out there? So it's about deepening my work in Happiness Matters, as well as deepening the exploration of happiness for myself. Because happiness is a journey. It's an ongoing, lifelong journey. There is no end goal. I think that that's the mistake we often make. And you'll hear me talk about this in series 1 on the podcast all the time about what is our definition of happiness, our own personal definition, because that's kind of, first of all, quite intangible, hard to find, especially because the world's very loud about what it thinks is happiness. But also as we grow and change, our happiness changes and fluctuates, and we spiral deeper and deeper into happiness. And so, I often liken this journey to Homer's Odyssey and Odysseus's journey when he's making his way home. And a beautiful book that speaks to this about coming home to ourselves using Odysseus's journey is a book by Norman Fisher called Sailing Home, and using the wisdom of Homer's Odyssey to navigate life's perils and pitfalls. And I'm actually going to be rereading this book over this period and applying it to this journey that I'm on through the Masters. And in the Masters, it's 2 things of a primary importance for me. The first is wallowing in the material of happiness studies. We look at philosophy, we look at all the ancient traditions, we look at East and West views on happiness, we look at literature and song and music and meditation. So it's the whole extent and breadth of the world of happiness since we've been humans. So for me to wallow in this and delight in it for the next 20 months. And then the other big piece of it for me is to have a community, to build a stronger community of people around me who are truly passionate about the happiness revolution. This is something that Tal Ben-Shahar talks about all the time, is building communities around us of people who are essential to what we're passionate about, and that actually it increases our happiness. But in this case, it's also about extending our work together into the world of happiness and happiness studies, and how we're actually going to affect change in the world. So it's kind of above and beyond my coaching that I do through Happiness Matters. It's joining hands with my fellow students in the Masters who come from all parts of the world, from Vietnam to the States, to me, to Israel. It's very exciting. So then through this journey, my personal commitment, it's not just about getting through the materials and learning it and integrating it, but it's about coming home to me. I have some post-pandemic burnout. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. Through the pandemic, I was coaching a lot. I was showing up on the podcast a lot because there was so much need in the world. And since then, this year I've struggled a little bit. I'm tired, that's the main thing. So for me, this journey is looking at that burnout and creating a journey of happiness that's about extreme self-care and self-kindness, and then deepening my own connection with something greater than me. I know the Buddhist words, and I love the way the Buddhist words express it. Sacred happiness and vast equanimity and primordial wisdom. So the journey for me is all of these things, but especially about deepening my connection to something bigger than me, something bigger than us. So for the next 20 months, every Friday, I'm going to go live on Happiness Matters Facebook page to talk about the journey and where I find myself at the end of the journey. And we will every now and again, we'll put a compilation of these short lives onto the podcast. So if you are a podcast listener, you can follow along. I'll also be hosting my fellow students on the podcast. They're already all masters of happiness studies, and we all have something fun and useful to share that we can learn from each other on our midlife happiness journeys. So join me on this journey to unpuzzle your own happiness, to explore it, to deepen it, and to find out what's next. Take care, and I'll see you live on Facebook. And it's Happiness-Matters.coach on Facebook. So until then, may you be happy and may you be free. There is no better time for us to coach together. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this Happiness Matters podcast, coaching your whole being happiness in midlife. To join Julia for more of her midlife conversations, subscribe for free to her coaching notes by email and to this podcast. Search for Happiness Matters in Midlife to find us in your favourite podcast player app. Once you're subscribed, both of these will be delivered to your device automatically. To find all of this, click the subscribe menu of our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. That's Happiness-Matters.coach. COACH. And thanks again for listening.